Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Dr. Michael R.M. Abrigo. You may now take the virtual floor.
Thank you so much, Melinda, and thank you everyone for being here. Um, it's always nice to share the things that we do at the institute. Just let me share my screen. Ayan, big na. Okay, so as mentioned by Melinda, this is a joint work with my colleagues at PIDS and Marlingatong and Tweetam Strelos. This is part of our contribution to the Second Education Commission. Um, Frankly speaking, this is a new area for us. I am an economist, and Jun Timko there's an economist and a sociologist. And this is a new area of research for us. And nung nag-start kami, hindi ko masyadong iniisip yung bullying. Because, maybe like many of you na bago dun sa issue, we thought na maraming mas malalaking issue kaysa sa bullying. During that time, we were thinking bullying is not a big problem for us, maybe. We're not like Japan or Korea that you hear news na meron nagpapakamatay, tumatalo sa riles ng tren, and wala namang masyadong ganun sa Pilipinas. Wala pang masyadong ganung show about bullying in the Philippines, unlike in these other countries. And while we were doing this study, it's nice to be, proven wrong by your own study na mali pala yung naisip ko dati, mali pala yung naiisip namin dati. So, okay, nawala siya. Okay, so this international literature, we know that bullying matters because those who were bullied suffer from poor mental health. They're more likely to suffer from psychosomatic conditions. Mas masakit yung ulo nila, mas madalas na sumakit yung ulo nila. They have worse academic outcomes. And yung longer term outcome based on the international literature is that they have lower labor force participation rate, they have lower employment rate, and these cascades sa income nila and eventually wealth accumulation. Mas mahihirap yung mga nabully nung bata sila. The story is quite similar in the Philippines, at least to the extent on mental health and academic outcomes. Ang, ang, pero ang studies kasi sa Pilipinas, most of the studies that we've seen when we're reviewing this literature is based on small case studies, pointing school, a group of schools in a specific location. Konti lang yung mga studies that relies on large sample surveys, national representative surveys. A few exceptions of those would include Chu and Vargo that looks at the GSHS in 2011, and they found that there's higher risk of suicidal ideation and attempt yung mga batang nabully. Dr. Orbeta also showed that there's a strong negative association with average scores. Pero yung results natin in the Philippines is quite mixed because, we have other studies showing that there appears to be some protective effects against low science achievement, as shown by a study by Dr. Bernardo that was published in 2023. And earlier, sa study namin nila Dr. Herin found that for some types of bullying, baka merong positive association siya with attendance. Okay. So this study somehow tries to address some of the lingering questions that we have. So one is, pag sinabing bullying, ano ibig sabihin nun? What does bullying look like in the Philippines? And I guess yung susunod is, does bullying matter? Kung nabully ka, ano ngayon, di ba? And kung nabully ngayon, if it does matter, we want to take a step back to answer who gets bullied. And then expand it again, where is bullying risk highest? So kung in this sense, kung maghahanap tayo ng programa, kung gusto na meron tayong bagong programa on bullying, anti-bullying, saan tayo dapat mag-focus? If there are takeaways that I want you to get from this presentation, tatlo yung gusto kong iuwi nyo sa mga bahay nyo, sa mga opisina nyo na pwedeng i-discuss to build better policies to improve yung mga condition ng mga bata sa school. One is that school bullying is quite pervasive, and this has been mentioned by Dr. Beth earlier. Second, school bullying contributes to learning losses. And finally, disadvantaged children are more likely to get bullied. Siguro, hindi naman bagong-bago itong mga idea na ito. Baka meron tayong hunch, hinala dito. But what's new in this study is that we try to provide some numbers to these ideas. Well, yung methodology namin, papasadahan ko lang na mabilis, we rely largely on the Program for International Student Assessment ng OECD in 2022. This is an international large-scale student assessment based on representative sample of 15-year-old students in around 80 countries around the world, at least in 2022. So what we did was, and we're very thankful to DepEd for this, that we were able to identify ano ba itong mga school na to so that we can uh, link yung iba pang information about the school that's not available in PISA but it's available from DepEd, DepEd's Basic Education Information System. So mas rich yung aming analysis. We were also able to link yung community level characteristics from the 2020 Census of Population Housing and conflict data and other information from other databases. So in the end, we have about 100 plus variables na trying to correlate that with schooling outcomes and bullying. So, so we did some statistical techniques, and I will maybe discuss this a little bit earlier. So yung first question namin is, what does bullying look like? Okay. So sa PISA, meron siyang score on bullying ng bawat bata. And if you take the average of that for each country, and you take the standard deviation, the dispersion of that score for the students within each country, you can see the Philippines nandun sa upper right. So somehow, tayo yung nag-frame nung picture. Tayo yung pinakamataas ang average score sa bullying, tayo din yung pinakamataas yung variation, dispersion do sa bullying. Ibig sabihin, mas nabubuli tayo, mas mataas yung nabubuli yung mga bata, at mas varied yung klase ng bullying na na-experience nila. So, yung average, yung score na yon on bullying is norm dun sa OECD average, and about 20% of those of Filipino students actually are less bullied than the OECD average. Pero if you look at the top 10% most bullied globally, ito yung mga, so kung nirank mo yung score nila, top 10% sa buong mundo, 36% of Filipino students in the 2022 PISA were actually part of that 10% most bullied globally. So marami lang doon sa pinaka-bullied ng mga Pilipino, even if you compare it against the world. So what does bullying look like? So yung PISA, meron siyang mga tanong on activities that somehow resembles bullying. So other students left me out of things on purpose, other students made fun of me, I was threatened by other students, hanggang dun sa dulo na I stayed home because I felt unsafe, I gave money to someone at school because they threatened me. So if you compare yung mga lahat ng estudyante, average student, about 76% of students experience one of these 9 activities in the past year. Kung part ka ng most bullied student na nasa Pilipinas, lahat yan na-experience mo at least once in the past year. So, punta naman tayo in the past month. So, 75% of the most bullied Filipino students, the part ng global na most bullied, actually have experienced at least one of those 9 activities in the past months regularly. 1.6 of those most bullied experienced all of these regularly. 0.6% lang for all students. Pero if you extrapolate that to all 15-year-old students in the Philippines, it's about 11,000 students na nakaka-experience ng bullying almost weekly, and all these forms. So, para makita natin ano ba yung itsura ng bullying sa eskwelahan. So, tutunod na tanong, so nabubuli ka, does bullying matter? Okay? So to be able to answer this, we did a decomposition on student outcomes. We tried to compare yung average score ng mga proficient and non-proficient students and then put in all other factors that we think that correlates with these proficiency measures, and to assess gaano ba kalaki yung contribution ng bullying sa difference ng score ng proficient and non-proficient students. So Tatlong grupo siya. So meron kang endowment effect, ibig sabihin magkaiba yung average score nyo on bullying. Meron ka rin coefficient effect, which essentially tells you na pareho yung bullying nyo, pero magkaiba yung how you deal with this bullying. Okay? So we try to assess that, and we're showing here the endowment effects. So sa ilalim, yung x-axis is your standardized difference. If you go to your right, ibig sabihin mas mataas yung score ng mga proficient na estudyante. Pag pumunta ka sa left, mas mataas yung score dyan. I mean, yung characteristics niyan doon sa mga non-proficient student. Pag pumunta ka sa taas, ibig sabihin, mas mataas yung score ng proficient student. Pag nandun ka sa baba, mas mataas yung score ng non-proficient student. So if you can see here, kung mahanap nyo yung bullying, nandito siya sa upper left na quadrant. So ibig sabihin yan, mas mataas yung bullying score sa mga non-proficient students. Nandun siya sa upper right, so ibig sabihin mas mataas yung score ng mga proficient student. Okay? So, so ibig sabihin yan, dahil mas mataas yung bullying sa mga non-proficient, mas malaki yung, mas mababa yung score nila kaysa doon sa proficient students. It's quite interesting na meron dito mga iba pang mga characteristics that explains yung differences between the proficient and non-proficient students. So you have your socioeconomic status, if they miss school, they're curious, age variation within schools. But among these, consistent ay yung bullying na always part of the top 5 na mga explanatory variables that explains the difference between the scores of proficient and non-proficient students. So ito is just another view of that, showing you gaano ba kalaki yung endowment effects tsaka yung unexplained effects. And as I mentioned earlier, malaki yung score na kino-contribute ng bullying sa difference between proficient and non-proficient students. So it's about 5 PISA points. So mga 5% of a standard deviation, which is quite sizable. Okay? If we take this 5 PISA points, so yung 5 PISA points, mukhang maliit lang yan, di ba? Pero if we take these 5 PISA points and try to estimate, do a back the envelope calculation to estimate ano kaya ang contribution niya sa economy natin? Are there lost opportunities because of this? So we did that using a similar study that did the same and applied that to the Philippine case, pero instead of yung tinignan nila doon ay contribution ng COVID, here we're looking at the contribution of bullying. Yung 5 PISA points na yun actually leads to about 0.05 to 0.08 percentage points decline in long-run GDP of the Philippines, which is, ano ba, medyo maliit pa din, di ba? Kung iisipin natin, in the grand scheme of things. But these actually translates to about 10 to 20 billion worth of with our current GDP. So to put this into perspective, ano ba yung kapareho ng 10 to 20 billion na yan? So this is approximately yung budget ng DepEd for textbooks in 2024, which is about 12 billion, and the whole computerization program of DepEd, which is about 8 billion. So kaya mag-run ng program yung worth ng learning loss natin from bullying that we experience. So next na tanong, importante yung bullying sa mga bata at sa economy natin, then who gets bullied? So here, what we did was we brought the big guns. We used machine learning to actually identify ano ba yung mga correlates ng machine learning. So we have classical logistic regression, lasso regression, gradient boosted classifier. So ito yung mga vanilla flavored natin ng mga ML techniques. Just an aside, here I'm showing you na, well, regardless of the technique, mukhang pareho naman yung kanilang capacity to actually tease out sino yung nabully at hindi nabully. Okay. So, using those model, we try to identify ano ba yung features na pinaka-importante when we're talking about bullying. So we use the gradient boosted classifier influence characteristic. Essentially, this is just telling us doon sa mga variation na kaya nating explain how much of those variations are actually can be explained by these characteristics. And the top 5 factors, yung experienced hunger in past month, grade repeater, being in a public school, independency ratio. Being female actually explains about two-thirds of the variation that we can extract from the data. So malaki yung kaya nating i-explain. Just an aside, uh, meron, gusto rin namin tanungin, ano kaya ang contribution? Kaya bang explain nung having a principal as a school head or a guidance counselor yung experiences ng bullying ng mga bata? And unfortunately, yung data na to is only available for public schools. But still, we look at it and it turns out, konti lang yung contribution ng having a principal or having a guidance counselor. And I guess this leads to some questions na I will discuss later. So, sinabi natin kanina na kayang i-explain yung variation ng mga variables na ito, pero hindi natin alam ano yung direction ng correlation ng mga variables na ito na sa tingin natin na importante doon sa actual experience of bullying. So, we look at the logistic regression just to see ano ba yung direction na yon. So, what we found was that disadvantaged children, so yung mga repeater na, the experience hunger, are more likely to be bullied in schools. They are twice more likely to be bullied than non-repeater or those who have not experienced hunger. Yung being female and studying in a private school appears to have some protective effects against bullying. They are less likely to be bullied. Okay? So, using this model, we try to expand this naman sa buong Pilipinas. Kasi ito specific na mga bata, to individual level na mga characteristics, individual level na analysis. Pero if we think na meron tayong dapat pagtuunan ng lugar, paano natin gagawin yon? So what we did was to do a small area estimate. Using the same model, we found yung mga analogs nila at the community level so that we can somehow predict yung probability of being bullied in these communities. So from individual level, we predict yung probability of being bullied in a school, and then we aggregated it at the province level para meron tayong numbers for each province. Yung kasing PISA was designed to be na national siya. There are some estimates at the regional level pero medyo manipis. So what we did was to bridge that gap in the data so that we can have a province level na estimate of bullying risk. The risk of bullying part the most bullied in the world. Okay. So saan pinakamataas yung bullying risk across the country? So sabi natin kanina, private schools have lower average bullying risk, and this is shown in this choropleth map. Pag sa public school ka, mas likely ka mabullied. Pero pag mas mayaman yung lugar nyo, like in Mega Manila, NCR yan, Calabarzon, Cebu ba nag-register dito, mas mababa kayo ng konti na mabully. Yung risk nyo of being part of that most bullied around the world. So merong protective effect yung pagiging mayaman ng lugar nyo. But we also found na even if merong mga lugar na kahit pareho yung kanilang average risk of being bullied, napakalaki ng dispersion ng bullying risk across schools within these locations. An example would be Abra and Ifugao. They are about the same bullying risk. Pero pag tinignan mo yung dispersion sa loob, malapad yung dispersion bullying risk within provinces. And what we also found was that yung within province disparity in bullying risk appears to increase with average bullying risk. So habang mas mataas yung risk within that location, nagiging mas varied din yung risk within. So, these are just some of the summary and maybe some implications. Mas maraming tanong kaysa proposal. So, school bullying is concerning kasi for many reasons. One is that there's a non-trivial proportion of students who are at risk of being bullied in schools. Ang laki nung nasa most bullied ng mga bata na nasa Pilipinas. The difference in bullying experience captures a significant portion of differences in the average score between proficient and non-proficient students, and we estimated that this may lead to substantial economic losses. Mukha siyang barya pero it could actually fund important programs na dapat napunta para sa mga bata. And the good thing is that we think that bullying is a modifiable risk factor of learning losses. Unlike socioeconomic status that would require generations para makorek, yung bullying is something that we can do something about now na. So, but the issue is that paano ating gagawin yun? International evidence suggests many successful programs. What we need is to identify what works for the Philippines. We need some experimentation na ito nag-work sa ibang bansa. Pag tinransplant nasa sa Pilipinas, mag-work pa rin ba siya? Anong condition siya mag-work? Ano yung kailangan natin para mag-work siya? This study provides some guidance of what to watch out for support. So kung tayo yung program managers, kung tayo yung school head o tayo yung guidance counselor, sino ba yung dapat nating tignan, yung dapat nating bantayan sa school. So we found that public school students, females, already disadvantaged. Ito yung mga dapat nating tignan. Uh, kung magagawa tayo ng mga programa, meron tayong batang binabantayan. We also found that areas with high average bullying risk, but low dispersion. So ibig sabihin, pag high average risk ka, pero low yung dispersion, lahat kayo, halos marami sa inyo, ay pare-parehong nabubuli. So siguro if we have a program, dun tayo pinakamalaki ang gains if dun tayo magpo-focus sa mga areas. And finally, I think we need to capacitate yung school personnel natin, tsaka yung community need to focus more on supportive actions versus punitive actions, preventive actions, and rehabilitative programs para dun sa nabully at dun sa mga nabubully. Kanina na-mention ko kanina na hindi namin nakita na malaki yung contribution of having a school head and a guidance counselor sa experience of bullying across schools. But we think yung school head and yung guidance counselors have important roles to play. So siguro ang iniisip namin, how do we capacitate school heads, guidance counselors, make them have a bigger role, more impact to the extent na ma-address natin yung bullying sa schools. Maraming pong salamat. Magandang umaga.